right, let's talk about keyword research. Keywords are one of the most important things for SEO. And every time I've ever had a conversation with someone about keywords where they were just getting familiar with SEO, they're always surprised at the vast range of variations of ways to seek their products and services. So don't think of keywords as a handful of things that you can come up with creatively or brainstorm and put onto a spreadsheet. Instead, think of these as a series of prompts that you can use to develop and sort and accumulate and build a data set with. So if you're thinking about keywords, you don't need to be thinking in tens or hundreds. You need to be thinking in thousands, because that's the exercise you're going to go through to collect and harvest the keywords that you can choose from that are the best fit for your business. And after you do this kind of broader research and you pull it back and you're filtering down, it can become tens or hundreds. But typically, a healthy SEO program is going to have a broader target than just something like 10 keywords. There's no business out there that just has 10 keywords. There are always more ways to say it. All right, so let's talk about how to conduct keyword. So first, the basics. It's a process of looking into and analyzing search terms and queries people enter into search engines. And you don't have to guess at what this is. We can use tools to do this. Google AdWords is a tool that came out through Google selling ads and offering data to allow advertisers to see where to focus their efforts. But also you can use other tools like SEMrush or SpyFu. These have good keyword research tools. And why is it important? Well, it's important because you're going to learn that not only are there search terms that you want to show up for, but there are a lot of them. And you have to decide where to focus and prioritize your time and energy, and even your content production and your SEO work. So you have to be able to cast a broad net. And then you have to be able to dig in and decide how to prioritize. And so some of the new concepts you're going to get in this module are prioritizing based on monthly search volume. And so keywords that are more popular are more valuable. And then intent. Intent is the user's intent to use something that you're offering as they're doing a keyword search. So if they're searching for painters near me, that's a very high intent keyword if you're a painter serving a local market. But a very low intent keyword for a painter, like a house painter or a commercial painter serving a local market, would be best colors for spring. That may or may not be a good prospect. It could be about clothing, could be about painting. But best colors for spring, even when we heard it just now, we thought, oh, that means bedroom colors. But does it? It depends. And Google hasn't done very much with sequential search results. That's coming. That's happening. It's being tested. But for now, we're going to have to judge each keyword on its own and assume that it's a standalone keyword search so that we have enough critical mass around high intent keywords to develop your keyword strategy. All right. So those are some of the reasons it's important. You do better keyword research, you're going to get better traffic to your website, or you're going to do better SEO, and that's going to bring more traffic to your website and ultimately more new customers, which is what it's about. All right, so let's talk about some of the factors. Number one, we already touched on this, relevance. How relevant is it to your business? So understanding how a search term could be different than what you're thinking it is. I used to use the example Christian books versus Christian Bale, two very different things. So understanding how the words are playing in to your products and services without the context of knowing anything about the person doing the search, you have to make some pretty hard decisions. And this could lead you to take some words out of your list that are extremely important for your industry, but you just don't have any way to identify the relevance to know that they're exactly relevant. Those are still going to be valuable, but they're going to be valuable in terms of the larger set of keywords. Next is authority. If you have keywords that you can go be a strong, positive, sustained presence of authoritative information on the internet for, that's a good plan. because you want to go after and develop terms for which you can become an authority. And so the doability or the level of complexity, for example, if I started a new mortgage broker company right now, I wouldn't go out and start with the word mortgage. I might start with something a little bit less specific that isn't something that millions of companies are trying to rank for, or tens of thousands in a US market, for example. But I might search for farm mortgages, something a little off the beaten path where I can go and establish some authority and then build on that for the larger category. So yeah, if you're not a trusted leader in your industry, it's going to be tough to start at the top. So typically, we find companies working their way up from the bottom. Another one, we mentioned this, is volume. It's generally better to go after keywords that have higher volume because your amount of effort is going to be the same. But every time there's higher volume, that's essentially more shots on goal for your company in the search results. If you're on page 1 of Google for a very low volume term versus being on page 1 of Google for a moderate or high volume term, moderate to high volume is better than low. All right, now let's talk about how to do some keyword research. In general, at a high level, some pointers. You can use Google AdWords, or you can use SpyFu, SEMrush, any of these keyword tools that are out there. And it's just a matter of going and running URLs through these tools and accumulating that data and merging it and purging it of duplicates and identifying, and then going through it and identifying what works best for you, either because of volume, competitiveness, or relevance to your, or intent to purchase for your particular market. But there's some things that you can do to get into this that are going to give you a little bit more than just the mechanics of how to do it. So this is a little bit more of how to think about it. So first off, make an initial list of relevant topics based on what you know about your business. So it's good to start. This is the one time where it is good to start with sort of a blank sheet of paper. What do we want to be known for? And to answer that in as general a way as possible, a good exercise for this is to open your homepage and each of your services or major product pages as tabs, and just close tabs as you say, yeah, everything we want to show up for is in our list. And just start with the homepage. Say, what do we want to be known for? And then work through your services. And you'll find that in the services pages or your big product pages, whatever makes up a major page on your website for you, you'll start to see, oh, we've got that covered. Oh, we've got that covered. Or you will continue to see deep into this list of pages, oh, we didn't think about that section. And that's different than anything else that we do. And we don't really cover it as much on our homepage. So we haven't mentioned it yet, but it's really important. And so you can add these categories. And this is going to create sort of your hunt list for categories. You're going to want keywords that are relevant to all of those categories. Next up, come up with keywords for your topic buckets. You might have made your initial topics list, cleaned it up a little bit and said, okay, there are about 20 topics that we want to be known for, or maybe 5 to 7. It doesn't have to be very many. The more you can kind of slim it down and clean it up, the better. Because what you're going to do then is go through a keyword research tool and load some of these basic topics and see what comes back. And then you can begin to add these to a spreadsheet or accumulate them in some single repository of data with where they came from, so that you know, like, wow, what were we thinking on that? Oh, we're thinking this. Yeah, that's not relevant. It doesn't play with what we were thinking. So developing these topic buckets, it's a tool for starting to develop your data set. And a good thing that I like to do is load a URL, see what keywords come back, and make sure that you've caught some of the big ones, and that you've fleshed out your topics, because sometimes search engines are a little bit better than you at deciding what your topics are. So that's just kind of a bonus item, is you're running the URL through a keyword research tool to say, gosh, do we forget anything? Or better yet, run a competitor's URL through the keyword tool and say, wow, what are their big overarching topics? And that can inspire a lot of topics. But once you have these topic buckets, you can start collecting data and adding them in to your different buckets. And what I like to do is keep those on separate tabs as you're going through this a first time in one workbook, because you don't need separate workbooks for all this, but you're going to end up in spreadsheet world. That's where this is headed. All right, step 3. Do keyword research based on user intent. This is a little bit of manual processing. And what it means is, and what I like to do is sort by volume, highest volume at the top. And sometimes sorting alphabetically is good too. So keeping your sheets ready to be sorted is really important rather than, oh, we made it down to here and we got to remember where we left off. It's better to treat them as sortable data sets. So if you're going through and determining intent, one of the things I like to do is sort by volume and go through and give everything a 1, 2, or a 3. A 1 is the highest intent down to 3. And then you can also just start deleting. If you have stuff that's junk, you can start deleting at that point, or you can make it a 4 and then sort, and then go through and delete all the 4s because you don't need the 4s and the 5s. And so next up is researching related search terms. Any one of the rows in your search term is another term that you can use to search for more related keywords. This is especially good when you have high volume, high intent keywords, and you think, gosh, I bet there are 10 ways to say that are equally valuable in terms of volume and intent. And so using those search terms to go through and run additional searches and add that data, resort, score, fill in the gaps in the scoring, dedupe. These are all ways to continue to hone in on how the market is expressing its pain point for your services or products, as opposed to just what you call it inside the 4 walls of your company. All right, leverage keyword research tools to get fresh ideas. This is a really good one. SpyFu, SEMrush, they're really great tools for loading in a URL. And sometimes you can get some really oddball stuff that can come from this because these other companies may have other lines of business that you don't have. Another trick that I like to use with using keyword research tools is to take a competitor product and load that URL to a search results or to a keyword research tool. That's a really good way to get results that can be very highly relevant and a smaller list, so there's not so much work to do to go through and cull out the noise. So how do you want to choose the final words that you want to focus on and rank for? So we talked a little bit about the orders of magnitude. You may have thousands of keyword rows in your initial research. You may sort by volume, and you may go through and score the high volume terms for intent. And then you may end up with hundreds or even up to 1,000 terms that are good for your company. If you do the work to cast that wide of a net, I would keep all of that data handy, because what you can end up with is clustering priority keywords, but then having a deep list of additional variations. And that's really good for the writers and the people managing your website, so they can play with the entire taxonomy and everything that branches off of that really good keyword that you found. And also it's going to give them more to work with to improve the readability and the style of the writing. So using the Google Keyword Planner is a good way to limit your list and clean it up. And it's also good if you're thinking about rolling this into an ads campaign. Another one is Google Trends. You can load some of your terms into Google Trends and compare them to other terms and just see, okay, where's this headed? This term might have good search volume this month, but it might be a term that's kind of on its way out. Maybe some things that are kind of dated. And so you might identify other keywords that are new that don't quite have the volume, but they show a consistent trend. And that's a way to kind of see where things are going. Another way to prioritize your list is to identify keywords that make up possible easy wins. There's a data column when you're downloading data from Google, or also a number of the tools, that says the level of the competitiveness for that keyword term. The level of competition is a helpful column when you need to prioritize. You can identify things that have very high intent for your audience and your services, high enough volume to bother with, but low competition. And that lower competition means not as many people are going after this keyword for whatever reason. And so you can choose those low competition terms and rotate them in more heavily and get some traction faster. And we mentioned search volume. Check the MSV. This is a good kind of gut check for, is it worth bothering with? And there's no rule of thumb, so to speak, for how many searches per month are worth dealing with. But in general, anything below 10 is going to be too small for anybody. And then after that, it depends on your industry and your type of business. So if you're a local mortgage broker, you don't want to go after the phrase mortgage, but you might want to go after the phrase, let's say you're in Tampa, Florida, going after mortgage broker Tampa, Florida might be a really good one for you and very useful. Or even better yet, something like mortgage broker rental property beach. These things, you can find combinations that just for whatever reason happen to have lower competition. And when you find one, make a note of it, because those are going to be some of the best ways to getting traction with your program faster. Next up, factor in search results page features and explore options for how to play with those features. Here's some of these. Image packs, whatever images are showing up for a search result, Google has decided that for that keyword, people want to see images. Sometimes it's the word chart. It's like, I want to see a chart. Okay, well, that's a picture. And Google wants to get the answer to the person in as few clicks and as little effort as possible for them to at least feel like they got the answer. And so optimizing and developing content that has lots of images for those things where lots of images are what's needed, that's a good way to rank in search results. Another one is paragraph snippets. Paragraphs, passages, these are ways that we're going to be spending more time on going forward, because Google wants to pull those all the way to the search results page, at risk of publishers and businesses and people who want to bring traffic to their website, but we got to play in that space. And so playing there means go ahead and give the answers away, whatever it is, because if they're interested, they're going to have to dig for more, either to purchase and get somebody to help them with their problem, or just to be helpful and be cash in on that brand power that you can have if your passage or paragraph is the answer they need. And you can see content elsewhere on tagging this type of content so that you can more effectively compete for page one or for search position 0, sort of page 1 of Google without any clicks away from the page. So paragraph snippets are good. List snippets. Google is showing a lot of lists on their search results pages, and you can play with that. Video snippets. Video is a different format, and Google's getting better at seeing what's in the video content. So even on a page like the page this video is being created for, we can see the type of content and show it in different formats. We can have the text, but also have a video. And so Google can go in and say, oh, this video kind of follows this content closely. Yeah, let's index this and show this page because they're hitting this question from a lot of different directions. And then the next recommendation is find the right mix of head terms and long tail keywords in each of your topic buckets. So knowing what the head terms are that you're going to go after, and then what the supporting terms are that may not be as high in volume, but they all sort of follow that head keyword, understanding those and having a good mix of those. You don't want just a bunch of head terms that are all impossible to reach and impossible to go after. And you don't want just a bunch of long tail where you're being too timid and not using some of these big ideas in your pages. Because we've had campaigns go live and 30 days later, we're on page 1 for acne as a term. That's amazing. But it takes having the right mix of keywords and knowing how to use it well. And then we mentioned this earlier, but seeing how your competitors rank for keywords. So knowing your entire data set of your target keywords and where you're ranking for those and where your competitors are ranking, that's a useful exercise. And we use that in some custom metrics that we use to manage up our SEO and some of our campaigns. All right, so the bottom line is keywords are good, and the more you know about them, the better you're going to be able to execute them into your SEO program, but they change over time. So maintaining freshness of your research, using all the different ideas and tools, and maintaining a sense of what's happening in the industry and how your keyword data can change is going to keep you on the right track for having an effective keyword strategy for your SEO program. All right, we'll see you on the next one.